Can a 34-year-old boomer shooter player go from a complete noob with mouse and keyboard aiming to gold complete on the Voltaic Season 4 benchmarks in 1 month? Yes, he can. And we did it yesterday. Yesterday is the 1 month mark of the first leg of this aim improvement. Started on December 19th. It was January 19th when I did the benchmarks one more time for the Season 4 set yesterday. And we did it. We hit gold complete. My scores on the benchmarks took a drastic increase over the last couple of weeks. And I'd love to share 3 tips that have got me here. The first tip is to understand the goal, right? You come into a new task and it's pretty easy to feel like you're aimlessly just going through the motions. And that was what I did for the first about a week. I just loaded up some scenarios and started clicking and tracking without really understanding the purpose of each. And that was when I first got into reading the Voltaic information about what each scenario does, the different types of aiming, and that helped me understand the clear goal of each task in the benchmarks and what to do to improve them. So I put up a video the other day about talking about having a clear goal and mindset when trying to improve in learning any skill, and this is really the first step. Understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how you're doing it, and that will pave the way to improving. So the second tip is going to be to find an appropriate challenge. You should be feeling uncomfortable when you're playing your aim trainer to the point of even being slightly frustrated. That's how improvement's made. That's how those motor neurons in the control of your hand, your wrist, your fingers comes about. If you're not feeling uncomfortable and frustrated, then the challenge, the scenario, the playlist you're doing is too easy for you to create any meaningful change or improvement, right? So it should feel like you're having to concentrate, that your hand is shaky, that you're needing to focus on tracking, being more precise. There should be some level of mental challenge there. And if you have that, you're good. On the flip side of that, if you have scenarios or playlists that are too challenging, save the scenario to a local playlist, go into the settings and change the time scale for tracking scenarios to lower the speed, or change the size of the bots you're clicking on, right? Some of this happened to me initially. The tracking scenarios were moving way too fast in reactive tracking, and my static scenarios, the bots were a little too small where I was not precise enough to be able to have an appropriate challenge. It is possible that things are too hard, just as it's possible that things are too easy. So if things are too hard, go in there and make those changes, make things a little slower, make the bots a little bigger. That way you can improve and slowly lower or slowly raise the time scale or lower the size of the bots. So a good thing for time scale would be to maybe lower it down to 0.7 and then set a score threshold for yourself. When you have, say, 75% accuracy, go up to 0.8. When you have 75% accuracy on that, go up to 0.9. This was something that I did that helped me understand the speed of the novice benchmark scenarios, and it paid off. Now, the third tip is going to be consistent with your practice. There's a method of practice called distributed practice, and where you spread out the time frame of your practice instead of having, say, one 5 to 8 hour grind session. It's just been proven time and time again that being able to focus for any longer than 60 to 90 minutes, you start to see diminishing returns on that time. So instead of sitting down and just grinding Kovacs for an entire day over an hour, hour and a half, if you want to practice more often, split that time invested up. So what I did over the last 2.5 weeks was sit down and run the Voltaic Daily Improvement playlist, and that took roughly about an hour. And then I would walk away, go work out, make some food, go to work, do some other things around the house, and then I would come back that night a little bit before bed and work on some of the scenarios or skills that I was having trouble with. So for the last couple weeks, for example, I would do the Voltaic Daily Improvement playlist, and then before bed I would come back and spend maybe 30-45 minutes on static speed clicking scenarios. Multi-click 120 was something that I had a terribly hard time with. So I would spend that evening every night working on that to bring it up to speed. So spread your practice throughout the day. is the first part of this consistency tip. And the other part is just make sure you're doing something every day. Even if you have a bit of a time crunch, your girlfriend wants you to do something, you have other responsibilities, you had a long day at work, don't just blow it off and say, well, I'll do something else later. If you come in and just sit down and give 10, 5, 15 minutes to a scenario that you are having trouble with, that's going to pay off in the long run. You're still keeping those motor patterns that you're learning fresh in your mind. Yeah, you may not have the most productive session, but it's at least going to keep your skills fresh. You're not going to regress any, and it's more than likely that you're going to make some progress even in those shorter bursts of time windows, right? So all of these play together in that you should identify what you need to work on, how you're going to work on it, have a appropriate enough of a challenge to where you're going to see improvement, and string together consistent days of doing this. For the last month, there wasn't a day that I didn't do some sort of aim training. And that was what helped took me from a complete noob up to getting gold complete. So I still know the areas that are lacking behind others is dynamic clicking scenarios and static scenarios. And both of those involve the component of target confirmation, clicking, and hand speed with that target confirmation. So that's going to be something I'm definitely more aware of here as I move forward. The tracking has gone pretty well, but like I said, I feel like I had maybe a bit of a head start on that just from the type of shooter games I had been playing on controller, because the visual focus of tracking scenarios, especially the faster ones toward the top end of the novice benchmarks, was definitely a challenge, just keeping up with the speed matching. So I know the journey from here is only going to get harder. That's just the nature of anything. You start to get that exponential return, and where you have to put in more effort and more time as you get better at things. So from here, I'm looking at continuing to do the same structure of my practice, just moving up to the intermediate Voltaic daily improvement methods, and start to move toward the Season 5 benchmarks in Voltaic. Those actually came out a couple of days after I really committed to working on aim trainers. So I've been using a few playlists that introduce those benchmarks, and we're going to start sprinkling those in as well. Hopefully there's a really good Voltaic daily improvement set of playlists for Season 4 like there was Season 5 eventually. I know Low Gravity 56 had said on Twitter that he's working on those, so I can imagine it takes a long turnaround to get there. Another point of consistency too, halfway through these benchmarks after the clicking scenarios, I had something come up that I needed to hurry through the tracking and target switching scenarios, so I didn't have the time to sit and reload the scenario up to 10 times like the Voltaic averages. So it goes to show that, as you can see on the graph, there are some scores that I recorded for these benchmarks that were not my personal best, that I'd actually had the day before, a couple days before. But that's good, because the point of aim training is not to improve your aim to be locked in, as they say, all the time, but it's actually to improve the skill floor of your mouse control. I have this philosophy in a lot of the sports training that I do, in that you're not going to be at your 100% best or even your 90% best every day. There's a lot of times you're going to have very mediocre days, very bad days, but the important thing is improving your skill floor, or the average of the worst that you're ever going to perform, up to a pretty high level. And that's what you're seeing here, because there's going to be times when you're sleepy, stressed, things just feel weird, you're on a time crunch, or you have unoptimal situations in games you're playing, right? Not every match or every game you play is going to play out how you want it or how you think it should play out. So being able to be adaptable when you're at your lowest or at your most average is the point in putting in all of the work with the aim training. It should become pretty second nature, to where you just go through the scenarios and display a level of skill you're happy with, even when it's not at its most optimal, which is definitely what happened here in the second half of the tracking target switching scenarios. But yeah, this has been the first month of this aim training journey, and I hope that I continue to see improvement. Things are only going to get harder from here, not only in the benchmarks, in the tasks, in the mouse control required, but also life. I'm an expecting father here in the next few weeks. Things will definitely get busy, so I'm going to be focusing on putting in just a little bit of work as much as I can, as often as I can. It's really exciting here to be looking forward to a new stage of life and also improving in the hobbies that I enjoy. So if this has been helpful for anyone, please drop a comment, a like, let me know. Anybody that's just picking up aim training, regardless of your age, your skill level, your time commitment, ability, just know you can do it. Take some of the tips, break the scenarios and the skills down into smaller bits, be consistent with it, get uncomfortable, and work hard at it. So keep aiming, guys, and we'll catch you out there. Marvel Rivals, Apex, and Fortnite's currently what I'm playing. Love Marvel Rivals. It's such a good game. And, Apex, new season coming up here. Hopefully they make some changes to where the game gets a little more populated, because that's, outside of Halo, that's definitely a very similar feeling to me, to where it feels really good when you're skillful with the inputs and you outplay someone. It's a great feeling, and it's getting a lot better for me, especially now that I'm showing some competency with mouse and keyboard. It is a whole other rush to play a game and be good at it on mouse and keyboard. So thanks for listening, guys. If you made it this far, I really appreciate any support. And we'll be back talking a little bit more about moving forward with the higher level benchmarks and that training process. Hope everyone has a good day.